I want to start this by saying something clearly. Everything you're about to hear is real. Every incident, every disappearance, every detail I mention has been documented, witnessed, or quietly acknowledged by people who worked inside Yellowstone National Park. What isn't always documented is how it feels to be there when no one else is around. That's the part most people never hear. Before we continue, take a second to like this video and subscribe. It's free, and it helps this story reach more people, and it allows me to bring you more cases most channels won't touch. Now let's get into it. I took the job thinking Yellowstone would be peaceful, that it would be quiet in the way only nature can be quiet. Vast skies, empty trails, a kind of silence you can breathe in. But Yellowstone doesn't have a normal silence. It has a silence that listens back. I was a seasonal worker. Trail maintenance, campsite checks, minor patrol support. Nothing heroic, no weapon, no authority, just a radio, a flashlight, and miles of land that didn't care whether I existed or not. During the day, the park felt safe. Tourists everywhere, cameras flashing, kids laughing. But at night, after the gates closed and the roads emptied, Yellowstone felt like something else entirely. Like a place that finally woke up. The first story I heard came from a ranger who'd been there longer than I'd been alive. He didn't tell it like a campfire story. No drama, no build-up, just facts. He told me about the thermal pools. Most visitors don't understand them. They look solid, calm, beautiful. Blue water, orange edges, steam drifting lazily into the air. But the ground around them is thin, brittle, sometimes no thicker than glass. He told me about a man who stepped off the boardwalk years ago. Just one step. That was it. The crust gave way, and he went straight down into boiling water. No one could help him. By the time rangers arrived, there was nothing left to recover. No body, no bones, just disturbed water and steam rising where a human being had been seconds earlier. That story stayed with me, but not as much as the ones that came after. My first solo night assignment happened in early fall. Tourist season was dying down, and the backcountry was emptying fast. I was sent to check on a campsite that hadn't checked out on time. That happens more than you'd think. People lose track of days, forget procedures. Still, protocol was protocol. I reached the site just before sunset. The tent was still there, partially collapsed. Backpack leaning against a tree, food canister unopened, campfire stone cold. But there was no person. The sleeping bag was missing. At first I thought maybe the camper had packed up in a hurry. But then I noticed the ground. There were marks in the dirt, long, uneven grooves leading away from the campsite. Too deep to be footsteps, too straight to be animal tracks. It looked like someone had been pulled. Slowly, feet first. The trail ended at the tree line. No blood, no torn fabric, no signs of a struggle. Search teams came later. Dogs, helicopters, grid searches stretching for miles. They never found him. Weeks later, someone quietly mentioned another case. A hiker from years earlier. Same general area, same outcome. The only thing they ever found were his boots, placed neatly beside a creek. Socks folded inside. No explanation. By the second month, I'd learned something important. Yellowstone doesn't rush when it takes someone. It waits. One night, I was stationed near a thermal basin, one of the more active ones. The ground there constantly shifts. Steam vents open and close without warning. Visibility can go from clear to zero in seconds. I was standing near the boardwalk when the fog rolled in. That's when I heard footsteps. Not animal movement, Not random rustling. Footsteps. Slow. Even. Intentional. I called out, assuming someone had ignored closures. No response. The steps kept circling me, always just out of sight. Every time the steam thinned, I expected to see a silhouette. Nothing. Then my radio crackled. Dispatch asked if I'd reported a barefoot man near the basin. I said no. They told me another ranger had seen him earlier that evening. Middle-aged, confused, mumbling to himself. No boots, no jacket, walking straight toward the steam like he didn't feel the cold. They found his clothes the next morning, neatly folded, placed on a rock, less than 10 feet from boiling runoff. They never found him. I stopped volunteering for night posts after that. But the park wasn't finished with me. Late one evening, I was driving a service road near a heavily wooded area when my headlights caught something reflective between the trees. I stopped. At first, I thought it was an animal's eyes. Then I realized it was a person, standing perfectly still, facing away from me. No pack, no light, no movement. I called out. They didn't turn around. I took a step closer, and that's when I noticed how thin they looked, how wrong their posture was. Head slightly tilted, arms hanging too loosely at their sides. Before I could say anything else, they stepped backward into the darkness. Not ran, not stumbled, just stepped back and vanished. Search teams later told me there had been no missing persons reported that matched the description. That answer didn't help. People like to believe nature is honest, that it's dangerous, sure, but predictable. Yellowstone isn't predictable. People drown in rivers that look calm. They vanish on trails they've hiked before. They walk willingly into places that should terrify them. Some never leave a trace behind, and the ones who do leave behind details that don't make sense. Folded clothes, abandoned boots, campsites frozen in time. I left Yellowstone at the end of the season. I told myself I was done with it, that I'd seen enough. But there was one file I never got to read. One case everyone avoided talking about. A disappearance so unsettling that even seasoned rangers lowered their voices when it came up. All I know is this. It involved a group. It involved radio transmissions that cut off mid-sentence. And it happened in an area of the park most visitors never reach. An area where the map stops being helpful. And that's where I'll end this. For now. Because the stories I haven't told yet are worse. And if you think Yellowstone is terrifying now, you haven't heard what happened next. And before I go any further, I need you to understand something. What I'm about to tell you didn't come from rumors or online threads. It came from internal incident reports, quiet conversations after hours, and one night I still don't fully understand. Inside Yellowstone National Park. The area was deep backcountry. No boardwalks, no crowds, no cell service. The kind of place you only reach if you mean to be there. A small group of experienced hikers entered the region late in the season. All checked in properly. All carried radios. All knew the rules. They were supposed to exit after 3 days. They didn't. On day 4, one of their radios crackled to life. Dispatch said the transmission was weak, distorted, mostly static. But underneath it, there was breathing, heavy, panicked. Then a voice. It kept repeating the same sentence. We didn't leave the trail. Over and over. Then silence. Search teams were deployed immediately. What they found didn't match any accident scenario. The campsite was intact, tents standing, gear organized, food untouched. It looked like everyone had simply stood up and walked away at the same time. Except the footprints didn't lead outward. They circled the campsite, again, and again, and again, like the group had been pacing, waiting, or listening to something moving just outside the firelight. About 50 yards away, searchers found the first body. No visible injuries, no animal signs, no environmental damage. But his face was frozen in an expression I've never seen before. Eyes wide, jaw clenched. Like he'd seen something his brain couldn't finish processing. They found 2 more bodies over the next day. All the same, the 4th person was never found. I didn't read that report until after I'd already left Yellowstone. But there was something else. Something I did experience while I was still there. It happened during my final week. I was helping escort a small search detail after a separate disappearance. Solo hiker, late 20s, experienced, vanished near a forested thermal zone. Nothing unusual at first, until the radios started acting up. Not dead, not silent, just delayed. You'd speak and hear your own voice come back seconds later, stretched, warped, like the forest was replaying you incorrectly. That's when someone ahead of me stopped walking. He raised his hand and whispered, "Do you hear that?" I did. Footsteps, but not coming toward us, moving with us, perfectly matched to our pace. Every time we stopped, they stopped. Every time we moved, they moved, always just beyond sight. Eventually, the team leader ordered us back. No explanation. Just, "We're done here." On the way out, I glanced behind us, and for a split second, just long enough to register it, I saw movement between the trees. Tall, still, watching, not approaching, not hiding, just waiting. Later that night, I asked a ranger I trusted what that was about. He didn't answer right away. Then he said something I've never forgotten. Most people think Yellowstone is dangerous because of animals or heat or terrain. That's not why people disappear. I asked him what he meant. He looked at me and said, "Some places don't want witnesses." After I left the park, I started digging on my own. I found records of people reporting the same things across decades. Radios activating by themselves. Voices heard where no one was present. People claiming they were being followed without seeing anything. Hikers found miles from where they should have been, confused, dehydrated, unable to explain how they got there. And in several cases, people who were never found. No remains, no clothing, no final trace, just a last known location deep inside the park. I still think about that last missing hiker, because there was one detail that never sat right with me. His journal was found, and in the final entry, written the night before he vanished, there was a single sentence underlined 3 times. It knows where I am now. No context, no explanation. Just that. I don't tell these stories to scare you away from Yellowstone. I tell them because most people only see it during the day. They see the beauty, the wildlife, the open skies. They don't see what happens when the park empties, when the trails go quiet, when the dark settles in and something out there realizes you're alone. And the worst part? Some of the disappearances don't end. They just stop being searched for.